Hello guys, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Paint the Town Dead, and I am one half of your host, Caitlin.
And who's the second half? It's me.
It's Andrew.
That's me.
Hey.
What you gonna do about it?
Nothing.
I didn't think so.
Because you're my podcast partner, and I need you here.
Well, I was talking to the people at home. What are you gonna do about it?
Also nothing.
I'm still gonna be Andrew, no matter what. You can't do anything about it.
Very good. So it's been 2 weeks since we saw you. Thanks for coming back. We've got stories today. But first off, how about all those pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks?
It's still summer.
Yeah, but this week though.
I think it is technically what is like the 21st that it changes?
Something like that. So we're close.
So I think when this goes out, I think it might be fall.
Maybe fall?
Yeah.
Well, I went ahead and changed in the bathroom. I don't know if you've been in the bathroom yet, but you may have noticed I changed the soap in the bathroom to, it's like something ridiculous. It's like sweet cinnamon pumpkin fall or something like that. But yeah, it's exciting time for everybody.
There's a bunch of leaves already off one of my trees.
Oh, really?
So I need to deal with that, I guess.
Oh, see, that's a good thing about my house. I don't have any trees to deal with.
Yeah, but I need them, especially when I mow the backyard. Mowing the backyard because we have a bunch of trees, some big old pines and such.
Yes.
I get lots of shade, so I don't die in the middle of mowing the yard.
I get zero shade. None. Negative shade.
Yeah, it's kind of how my front yard is, which I'm sort of annoyed by, but what are you going to do?
But it's getting close to that time of the year where we'll have probably like a couple more good mows in. It'll be done. No more mowing. And that is very exciting. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I agree.
So
mowing is a real pain. Mowing and trimming and all the other stuff you do.
The fact that you have to find time to get sweaty and hot and die. And you have to allot, if you have a big yard, you have to allot hours for that. And that's just not fun. Unless you want to pay somebody. And I don't have that kind of money.
And paying people for things is also not always fun.
That is very true.
Like, I know money's there for, exchanging for goods and services.
Yeah.
But sometimes I need that money for other goods and services.
So I keep it and I do the hard work myself, and it sucks. But it gets done.
Yeah.
So anyway, so fall's here. I'm wearing my the sweatshirt you got me, the serial killer documentaries and chill. Yeah. Could you hear me? Serial killer documentaries.
I heard.
And chill.
I'm not sure how much they heard you. I could hear you.
You could hear me, but
yeah.
It's a black sweatshirt with red creepy writing that Andrew got me for Christmas last year. And it says serial killer. Was it last year? Yeah. Serial killer. Why can't I say that? Serial killer documentaries and chill. I kept saying
there you go.
Serial killers.
Yeah. Sometimes you lose a word. Like recently I was trying to say
lose a vowel.
Sketch show. For some reason, my brain was like mixing up skit and sketch, so I was calling it sketch, and I was like, no, I mean sket. But I was like, no, why am I doing this?
That's not right.
Like my brain broke.
That's not right.
Why don't you tell us what we're talking about today?
Today, we have a story, and it's not a very long story, but it is one. I don't recall this story. Like, I thought for sure I'd remember this when it came out. Our case takes place in 2013, but I don't recall hearing this. And I was in Northeast Arkansas at the time this was coming, at the time this came out. And I think you were too. 2013, were you in Northeast Arkansas still?
Yes, I would have been.
Yeah. So I was still there. But I don't remember it. But anyways, it's a really sad case. So let's go ahead and get sad.
They're rarely not.
They usually are not great topics. So okay, today we're talking about Sidney Nicole Randall. So Sidney was born July 15th, 1998. But at the time of our story in 2013, Sidney was 14 years old. She was so petite. She was 5'4", had green eyes, brown hair, and she was like a beauty queen in Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, which is in Northeast Arkansas. Is Walnut Ridge, is that where the Beatles touched down that one time?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, because they were trying to avoid being somewhere where people were.
Yeah. And they were like, they had to emergently touch down at what the Beatles did at one time. And then Walnut Ridge has a big festival every year. It's like, the Beatles were here. And it's like, they didn't mean to be here. It was an accident.
Sometimes when you don't have any real history, you gotta grasp for straws.
What's your claim to fame?
I get it. I'm from a town that has no real history. I think it was founded in 1960 something.
Really?
So it's like, who cares?
I didn't know that.
We don't even have like a downtown or anything. There's nothing. It's just houses and banks. Like, yep, cool.
Literally it. But Walnut Ridge is it's not a very big area. Lots of farming area. So, Nicole's brother Ben described Sidney as a, quote, sweet and caring person. Her friends described her as bubbly. She loved things that like a lot of teenage girls do, like makeup. She loved dressing up for pageants that she did. She had been active in pageants since the age of 2. And she was also a member of her school's color guard, aka flag line. You might know what flag line. And a member of the volleyball team. And she was also a member of the Girl Scout dance team, which I was like, that's a thing? I had no idea. So she's a member of the Girl Scout dance team, which is interesting. She was I guess she would have been in 8th grade. She was in middle school. She was in 8th grade. So she was very young. Sidney lived primarily with her mom, Denise, and her stepdad, John. Her dad, Victor, was also involved in her life. And she also had another brother, Zachary. However, things were not always fantastic on the home front. There had been some allegations from Sidney to her dad, Victor, that John had beaten her and that she was going to alert authorities. Victor also suspected that John had been molesting Sidney. I don't know if she ever came out and said it, but there was allegations of that and suspicions of it. And over the last few months, Denise noticed that John's behavior was kind of weird. John had been acting odd towards Sidney, almost like really possessive of her, and became very controlling of her. And so very odd and unusual behavior had been happening for the past few months. So in the very early morning hours of March 9th, like into March 10th, it was like 3:30 in the morning. It was super early. Denise woke up and she went to check on her daughter, Sidney, and she was absolutely shocked and terrified to find that Sidney was not there. Also missing was John. So Denise knew that Sidney had been home the previous night as they had spoken. She laid eyes on her, and the last time they saw each other was around 10 p.m. right before bedtime, so she also knew that Sidney had not been planning on leaving. Like, it wasn't like she ran away. It wasn't like she snuck out with friends or anything, because all of Sidney's makeup was there. And Sidney loved her makeup. Like, she was very much into makeup. So her mom knew that she wouldn't just like be planning to leave her makeup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of them where it's like Casey Woody, where they're like, she's gone and like her coat's still here and it's snowed.
Cold. Yeah.
So
unusual. It's like, no, something happened. And so about 5:30, John showed back up home, and of course Denise was frantic. He didn't really say what was going on, why he had been gone, but Denise immediately told John what was like, Sidney's missing, something's wrong. And John said, he didn't know anything. He said, okay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go file a police report. Spoiler alert, he did not file a police report, but Denise did. She was tired of waiting, and she went ahead and filed a police report. So the search was on for both of them.
Do you know if he said like what he had been doing?
He didn't say. There's nothing I read said what he was doing. And I think, we'll talk about it a little bit at the end, but
okay.
But so the search was on for Sidney, and then eventually they're like, oh yeah, we need to find this guy too, because they're like, they were both missing at the same time. Yeah, we need to find her stepdad. So police knew they needed to locate Sidney. They also needed to talk with John, but both were MIA. Neither of them could be found. So some unusual things had occurred not long before the disappearance of both people. Of course, the allegations of the physical and sexual abuse from Sidney against John, and the fact that John had received a tax return recently, and he'd gone on like a super spending spree. Like, he spent like a lot of the money, which was kind of weird. With the money, he purchased a brand new computer, like some other items that they didn't go into detail, but most importantly, he purchased a gun. So police would end their search for John very quickly. That was on Monday afternoon. So she went missing on Saturday into Sunday. So Monday afternoon, March 11th, they found John in a field a short distance from his parked red truck with what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound, which was fatal. So, red flags.
Yeah, especially there's two people are gone
at the same time.
Yeah.
Unusually so, oddly so, in the middle of the night.
Yeah, at 3:30 a.m. that's realized.
Yeah.
And then one of them returns, but the other does not. Yes. And doesn't have like a cover story of like, I went out and got drunk in a field or something weird.
Yeah.
What do you, that's what you do in Northeast Arkansas. I get it.
Yeah. In Nowheresville, Northeast Arkansas.
Yeah. Even having like a gun. I get it. It's Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's rural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, no story. And the fact that he was like, I'm just going to go ahead and go file a police report for us. And it's like, gone. And then, of course, you come upon the self-inflicted gunshot wound. It's almost an admission of guilt. You know what I mean? Not always, but you know what I mean. So this...
I've seen enough crime stuff.
We know a little bit.
We get it.
We get it. So this was a big blow to the investigation as they believed John had information on the whereabouts of Sidney. So the search went ahead and continued for Sidney, and then it continued, and it continued for a long time. So initially, dogs were used to try and get a trail on John and Sidney. Of course, they found John shortly after, but they couldn't get a trail on Sidney. Scuba divers were brought in to look in nearby lakes, rivers, and creeks, which there is some water in that area, in that vicinity. They also had like horseback. They had helicopters. I mean, everybody was all in to try to find this 14-year-old. I'm sorry if there's any young teenagers listening, but 14 is so young. Like, that's a little girl. I mean, you know what I mean? That's so young.
Yeah, the 14 is, that is a child.
You're starting to find yourself, but you're still so young.
Like, maybe.
Yeah. So they searched even in abandoned homes and like just anywhere they could think of in the nearby area. So investigators also issued a request to the public that they search their own private fields and ditches, because there's a lot of fields in that area, and to look for any sign or anything of the missing girl, like anything out of the ordinary. They told everybody that she had last been seen in a brown Aeropostale jacket, which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
I was going to say, is that still around?
I don't know.
That takes me back to 2006.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this 2013, not long after. I don't know if it's a story. For those of you who don't know, Aeropostale was a popular clothing store back in the early 2000s and 2010s.
Looks like it still exists in some fashion.
I haven't seen a store for it in a long time.
Yeah, but when was the last time you went to a mall?
Also, I don't think I think I had like 2 Aeropostale pieces of clothing. That just wasn't my home base.
I went there a lot because it was cheaper than you expected.
Yes.
Everything was perpetually on sale, as I recall. They were always like, sale, it's half off. And it's like, it's been like that for about 5 years, but okay.
And it's all kind of trendy teen clothing. Yeah. So, so they looked and looked everywhere. Everybody looked, but it was just like Sidney had just disappeared. And on the 5th day of Sidney's search, friends and family met and they held a nice vigil for her, praying and hoping for a return. They released a bunch of balloons. Her classmates gathered. It was a really beautiful thing. So about 8 weeks after Sidney's disappearance, she still had not been found. And so Sidney and John essentially went missing at the same time, So about 8 weeks after Sidney's disappearance and about the same time since John's apparent suicide, John's family reached out to press to share their side of the story. They thanked authorities for their hard work and encouraged everyone to keep searching for Sidney. John's sister even flew in from Australia to help with the search. I don't know what she was doing in Australia. I don't know what she does or did. But she flew all the way here, was here for like a month or something to try to help with the search. John said that John's sister is Leah. Leah said that she and John were very close. They were like twins. They had a very good relationship. Leah stated that she believed something suspicious happened to John and that he had not committed suicide as reported, and that she did not believe the coroner's report of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, as John never gave an indication that anything was wrong.
They usually don't.
Right. Exactly. So it's not like he's going to be like, I'm feeling suicidal.
Even people who have not done, conceivably, I don't know yet, crime.
Yeah.
Like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Where they do a horrible crime, realize that they're going to get got, and so they take their own life.
Right.
But even like people who are horribly depressed.
Right. They're not going to tell you.
99% of the time, people are like, this came out of nowhere.
Right.
Because, yeah.
They hide it. They put on their mask, their face. So it's not like he's going to be like, I'm suicidal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where was I? So she also made very clear that there was no evidence of the allegations against John for physical or sexual abuse. And she also stated that she very much believed and hoped that Sidney was alive and John had nothing to do with her disappearance, and that she and John's father would do all that they could to make sure Sidney was found. They, in fact, Sidney's brother Ben had received some kind of report not terribly long after Sidney went missing that there was a spotting of her somewhere near St. Louis, or that somebody knew she was up there. And so Leah and their dad Bill they were going to go up to the St. Louis area and spread flyers and everything. So they were very vested in finding Sidney. And I think that even though these folks, Leah and her dad Bill, may have been blinded by some familial bias, I think Leah and Bill both loved and cared about Sidney. And it was pretty apparent that they cared about Sidney, and that they just couldn't think of their son or brother being anything but loving to Sidney either, because they'd never seen any other side of John, and most people hadn't. They said John was a very good stepfather.
Yeah, so,
I mean, but they're not going to show you the creepy side.
Not usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look back and you're like, oh, maybe I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to happen here. But yeah, like it sounds like they actually care about this.
Yes.
They just are
a little blinded, maybe.
They don't want to accept what is probably the reality.
Yeah.
But it's not like who was it where he was on the news like, I'm searching for you.
Chris Watts.
Yeah, that guy. I was thinking there's one we did, but can't think of the name off the top of my head. Where they were even on the news, like spreading flyers, like we're looking for you. It's like you did it though.
You're the one who did it.
Obviously not the case here. Right. It sounds like
and they know nothing. They're very innocent, and they're just hoping for the best. And I think they very much cared about Sidney. So, but of course, things took a tragic turn not long after that interview with Leah and Bill. And on May 19th, after a very swollen Black River began to recede, a fisherman noticed the body of a young woman submerged and tangled in a tree near the bank of the river close to Old Davidsonville Park, which was about 15 miles from Sidney's house and about 1.5 miles from the put-in where you put your boat in. Oddly, that area of the river had been searched multiple times, according to investigators. But the sheriff at the time stated that the river was notorious for hiding things for a long time before finally giving them up.
Yeah, some of those rivers are pretty wild. Not like super big and wild, but there's lots of trees and brush and all that. I remember a story. It was in that area, maybe not that specific river, but it was in that general area about how a storm came through and knocked away a bunch of stuff. And it was like, oh, here's a big Native American thing that nobody had ever found before.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And
so
that's, like,
stuff can be hidden.
I think it gets very swollen with rain very quickly, and then things move. The current becomes very swift, and then stuff gets pushed and moved and whatnot, and stuff gets turned up from the bottom, I think is kind of what happens.
Yeah, and like stuff can get trapped under like tree trunks.
Yes.
It says here tree.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. So kind of treacherous, and it's probably pretty murky, so it's probably very difficult for divers to see.
It would be that's muddy waters around here.
It's not clear pretty water. It's silty. It's the Delta.
Yeah.
So using dental records from Sidney's orthodontist, the state examiner did conclusively determine that the body belonged to that of 14-year-old Sidney. And with the discovery of Sidney's bodies, some questions ended up being answered. At the end of July, her autopsy report was released. Sidney died from blunt force trauma to her head, which is a horrible way to think of a child dying, and of anybody dying, but especially an innocent 14-year-old child. The suspicions of sexual abuse seem to be confirmed with DNA evidence discovered on Sidney linking to John. His DNA was also collected under her fingernails. And when they did John's autopsy, when he committed suicide, it was also confirmed that Sidney's DNA was under his fingernails. So placing them both together at the time of death. So it was determined that the suspicions were correct. John this is speculated and probably correct, but there's no way of, confirming it. John had abducted Sidney, raped her, and then murdered her with an object that caused blunt force trauma. It could not be conclusively determined that he was the one who put Sidney in the river. Like, they couldn't say John was the one who put her in the river, but it was, it was likely him. But that was the only thing that they couldn't really say. But it's pretty much assumed. And shortly after, he drove himself to a field and ended his own life with a gunshot wound to the head. So, of course, the only suspect in this case ever was John. He was the only person of interest. He was the only suspect. It seemed pretty open and shut. And it's unfortunate that there will never be a trial. Nobody will ever go on trial to prove conclusively if he was guilty or not. And there's only assumptions. I mean, the assumptions seem pretty cut and dry, especially with DNA. But so many, I read different reports. So many people from Walnut Ridge helped in the search for Sidney, and they were all so heartbroken about her discovery and her death. And it was those small communities up there, the farming communities, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's in everybody's business. And whether it's gossipy or not, when something like this happens, I think they're all very good about coming together and supporting one another. So it was really wonderful seeing the kind things that everybody said about Sidney and her family. Sidney's mother never gave up hope of finding her and was finally able to lay her little girl to rest. And that's the really sad story of Sidney.
Well, thank you for sharing.
And I have a bunch of resources because, like I said, it's not a big case. I had to pull from a bunch of different resources. So there's one from WREG.com, from AreaWideNews.com, ActionNews5.com, Daily Mail UK, InBoneLive.com, MagnoliaReporter.com, KATV.com, TrueCaseFiles.com, ArkansasGravestones.org. And Strictly Homicide did an episode on Sidney. It's a podcast. I didn't listen to it, but it's lengthy. But I think they're another Arkansas podcast, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't listen to other podcasts because we're the number one podcast in the known universe, probably. Everybody
knows it with all of our subscribers.
That's right. We're gonna beef with this podcast.
That's right.
What's it called?
Strictly Homicide.
More like Strictly Poopicide. Gotcha.
Got him.
Pukicide.
You're really stretching for these ones.
I didn't plan this.
You gotta give me time.
I'm more of a writer. That's where I can plan things and I can put a thing down and go, no, what am I doing?
No. But anyways, I think they cover that. I don't know if it's any good or not. Didn't listen to it, but I kept running by it. So.
Probably not as good as ours.
Got him.
Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Probably better. It's a lot times longer. But anyways, here's my thing. I always try to glean something from each case that we do, especially the cases that I research and cover. I think if we have any young listeners or even any adult listeners, please do not be afraid to report stuff when it happens. Like, I know that like Leah had said, like, we never heard any reports of anything. Like Sidney never, and I think Sidney and Leah had a good relationship. Leah being Sidney's step aunt. I think they had a really good relationship. She said they talked on the phone all the time. So, and Leah said she never told me anything. There was nothing wrong going on. They seemed to have a loving relationship. Please do not hesitate. If somebody is abusing you, please let authorities know so they can help you. Don't hesitate. And a 14-year-old girl, that's a girl who's susceptible, that's somebody who is so young, she doesn't know what to do. So young people, please let somebody of authority know. And those who are adults, please let authorities know so they can help you.
Agreed. It is hard. Like, I don't blame anybody for not.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that stuff's changing.
I think it is.
At least to some extent.
Yeah.
More awareness around it.
Yes. I think there's been a lot more awareness.
I might have a thing to talk about at some point. That's sort of about that and culture changes and hopefully things for the positive.
Okay.
But
okay, that was my story.
All right. So I guess this is the part of the show. Usually we move on and talk about stuff, just whatever. Usually stuff that's not depressing and sad. Mm-hmm. But since I brought it up, let's do the depressing and sad thing that I wasn't sure I was going to talk about.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this.
What?
Dark Side of the Ring, that show about wrestling, had a very big episode recently.
No. Is that the one you like had to deuce out real fast for to watch?
No, that was wrestling.
Oh. Okay.
Dark Side of the Ring is like about the behind the scenes.
It's a documentary or something?
Yeah, it's on Vice. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't been watching lately, but I kept seeing all the buzz about this most recent one, which is about the plane ride from hell.
What's that?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit. It's on. Vice put it on their YouTube. It was blowing up so much. There's like, here's the full episode here. Oh. So you can just go to Vice's YouTube and find it. I recommend it. It's real bad.
Oh, what happened?
So the plane ride from hell is where WWE's wrestlers, it was early 2000s, like 2001 or 2 or so, maybe. Mm-hmm. They did a tour of the UK. They get on a big old fancy plane, getting ready to come back to the US on 8-hour flight or however long it is.
Yeah.
And they're in a weather delay. So they run through the entire liquor cart.
Shut up.
They run through a second liquor cart.
What the heck?
They run through a third liquor cart.
Is it just wrestling people on board?
Yes, it's one of these like those special charter planes they get like for sports teams and stuff.
Oh my gosh. And it's not like a little plane, like a little puddle jumper. It's like
and they have like very spacious seats and stuff.
That's nice.
It seems real fancy. Wouldn't want to be on it for this flight. And they interview one of the like flight attendants who was on it.
Oh no.
And she's like, I've never seen anybody go through one liquor cart. So these maniacs have gone through 3.
They're straight up alcoholics.
And they also talk about they would use Halcyon, which is like a sleep. Huh?
Halcyon.
They said it Halcyon. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't tell you, Caitlin.
Okay.
They're wrestlers, not medical professionals.
Okay. It's a sleeping medicine.
Yes. They all had it.
We give it to like the old people that have dementia that go crazy at night.
They use it because they're like, you can get it easily for like, because they have a lot of pain and stuff. So it's like helps them sleep.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
But also they're a bunch of lunatics who drink all the time. And sometimes they would mix it.
They don't mix it.
And also they talk about how this is it. So there's a lot of talk about just like the overall culture that they had back then and how it was a bunch of, again, maniacs. How they would like slip it into each other's drinks.
What?
Yeah.
Without them knowing?
Yes.
Well, that's a bad idea.
It's very bad. And they'd call it H-bombing people.
Oh, that's not funny.
No. Mike Chioda, a referee, he thought it was hilarious on Dark Side of the Ring.
Mike Chioda, you're wrong.
He was just like, yeah, you know, the boys just having fun. Like, what are you doing, Mike?
That's not having fun.
Get maniacs. There is so much in this episode. But yeah, basically they get liquored up and they are maniacs on this entire flight. And it's real bad. The big takeaway for most people is Ric Flair and Tommy Dreamer. Ric Flair, very famously, would like to basically flash his penis in public and just kind of swing it around at people.
Yuck.
You know, it's one thing if you're doing that with your wrestling friends.
It's another thing when you're in public.
He would do it in public. Like, there's stories of him doing it, like, publicly in a bar, publicly in a hotel. And he did it in this plane ride. And also, like, he cornered this flight attendant lady.
No.
So, yeah, and he was, like, trying to make her touch his thing.
Oh, gosh, no.
Fortunately, somebody else who was, like, liquored and possibly drugged up came by and stopped him.
Wow.
So Ric Flair is canceled now.
Bye.
Tommy Dreamer basically defended Ric Flair and was like, that lady's making that stuff up and all that. So everybody's mad at Tommy Dreamer. Those are the two big people who've come out of this looking bad. Mm-hmm. But also everybody, there's so many things that happen in this. Like, there's a part where a wrestler named Kurt Hennig and Brock Lesnar got into a fight on the plane. And we're like wrestling around like by the emergency exit door.
Oh my gosh.
Fortunately, nothing happened. But also there's a story about Brock Lesnar, how he flashed his wang at a woman named Terry. And
was she a flight attendant?
No, she was in the wrestling biz.
Was she a wrestler?
She mostly was a manager.
She could take him.
Nobody can take Brock Lesnar. He's a freak. But like she talks about how like stuff like that would happen all the time. They would just tell you like, just don't sell it. Just ignore it, which is bad.
That's a bad thing to do.
Shows a bad culture. There's a part where Scott Hall, who was famous for having drug abuse issues for a very long time. There's a part where he like tried to grab the flight attendant and he tried to lick her. Yeah. And one of the crazy ones that I didn't see, I've seen it talked about, but not as much because, again, there's just like so many things piling on top of each other of this bizarre, horrible culture. And then there's a part where Rob Van Dam, he was the one who talked a lot about the Halcyon and H-bombs and stuff. And he wasn't like, it was awesome. He was like, this is what they did. They're crazy people.
Yeah.
He's a big stoner. That's what he's into.
Oh, well, okay. Cool.
Yeah. He said he did some of the drugs that some of the other people did, and he was like, never again, because I can't walk now.
Oh, that's not good.
I'm so messed up. But yeah, he talked about how it was very, very often a lot of those guys would like drug girls without their knowledge and have their way with them.
That's so bad. That's no good.
It's called rape.
Yes.
And that was just like a common thing.
That's not okay.
And that's again, there's more stuff. It's wild. It is called Dark Side of the Ring, not Happy Fun Time Wrestling Stories.
I think that is a dark side, yes. Did they land safely?
They landed. At least 3 of them got fired. Scott Hall, Kurt Hennig, and might have been Dustin Rhodes. I can't remember who the third one was.
From WWE?
Yeah. Ric Flair, the one who was trying to sexually assault the woman, did not get fired.
Because he made more money than them.
Because he's a big deal, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE did help Jimmy Snuka cover up a murder, probably, so, you know.
What about that one guy that killed his family? Was he WWE?
He was, but that was a
Chris
CTE thing.
Benoit?
Yeah, they did an episode on him.
Yeah, that was really sad. I've seen a documentary about that. That was really sad.
That's a really good episode that they did.
Yeah.
That's from like, I think maybe the second season. I don't remember. It just makes you think of there's a wrestler called The Undertaker.
Yeah. And
might have been a year ago by now. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how these new day wrestlers, they're not real men, not like back in my day
where I raped women.
Back in my day, they'd bring knives to the locker room and stuff. I was like, that doesn't sound good. Like, why do you have nostalgia for this? Like,
it's a good thing that stopped. It's a good thing that stopped.
All these new guys, they play video games and hang out, and they don't get blackout drunk every day.
That sounds wonderful.
Like, yeah, man, that's
how life is.
It's better. It's better now that they're not a bunch of coked up rapists running around,
no kidding,
drugging each other. Like, what are you talking about?
No kidding. That's so terrible.
Anyway, watch that. It's wild. Again, they put it on their YouTube. I think that show comes out on Hulu. So
Hulu.
But yeah, this episode, Plane Ride from Hell, is just on their YouTube.
I feel really bad for those stewardesses.
Yeah, it was. It sounded like a bad time.
Flight attendants? I don't know what the proper term is anymore.
I think they call their flight attendant. I don't know.
Okay, a flight attendant.
I think stewardess is from a time when it was the 1960s, and you'd be smoking on the plane, and you'd slap a lady on the butt and go, "Get me another
martini."
Give me another martini, toots.
And then you had actual leg room.
They had leg room on this flight because they're fancy private ones.
Have you seen how flights, like, they just keep getting smaller and smaller with more seats to just shove people in there?
Squeezes for more and more money.
More expensive. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great time.
Love life.
I've got like 2 more things, but
I have a lot of things.
Do you have a bad thing to talk about? Because I remember, I think it was last episode, you were like, and now I'm going to talk about the Holocaust at the end.
I am still listening to that book. I have to do it in spurts because it is depressing. It is.
What's it called, though?
The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Thank you.
It's if you have kids and they don't know about the Holocaust, I think this would be a great way to introduce it to them. It comes from. It's kind of funny because it's like the perspective. The story is being told from a young 9-year-old boy, and he's like, of course Hitler's in it, but he calls him the Fury. He doesn't know it's the Führer or whatever. He calls him the Fury, and he thinks that the name of the place that he's living at is called Outwith, and it's Auschwitz. And so it kind of takes like a child, like, that sounds terrible, but it's a good introduction for children, and because like this kid doesn't understand the things that are going on. He makes friends with a boy. he's on one side of the fence. The boy, the perspective of the book's coming from is on the good side of the fence. And the boy that he makes friends with is on the bad side of the fence. And he doesn't understand why he's there. He just knows that they're friends, and that's it. And it's as an adult, you know these things, and that's because you know what's going to happen. And like, I know what's going to happen, and it's going to suck, and I'm going to cry. So I have to do the book in spurts because it's depressing. But in the meantime, I did finish a book, and I loved it. And it's called The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. And I thought it was really fun. I loved the characters. Really fun's a strong statement. I thought it was very interesting, and I loved all the characters, and I just thought it was a really great book, and I highly recommend it. It's about a girl who, you find out pretty quick. She makes a deal with somebody, and she gets...
Is it the devil?
Well, not really.
Mephisto.
Maybe. It's not really the devil, no. But she makes a deal, and... It's like the devil. She trades her soul for it afterwards. But
Milhouse from The Simpsons.
Yes. And she asks for a life to live her own. But the thing is, he gives it to her and she lives forever. Basically, she can't die. But with that, as soon as she meets somebody, like when they turn around, they forget her. Nobody ever remembers her. She can't tell them her name. She can't write things down. She's just... Nobody remembers her. She's invisible. Invisible Life of Addie Larue.
She's like, what were those bad guys from Doctor Who? The Silence or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah. Where you make the marks, they make the tally marks.
Maybe. They
turn around, they forget them.
Yeah.
And they make the tally marks to show that they've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one.
It's like that, except I guess she's probably not trying to control the world or something. I don't know.
No, she's just trying to live. I loved it, though. I do have something depressing to talk about. It's a lot, though.
Why didn't you do that first?
You want me to get over with? You and I talked about it before the podcast.
Do the bad stuff first.
And I'm sure everybody that listens to this has probably heard of the case of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. The girl, I think she was 22, went missing from Florida with her fiance / boyfriend / I don't know their status. And so what happened was case, I'm sure you all know, but let's go ahead and recap. I had to recap it for Andrew, so let's go ahead and recap. So she's with this guy. Gabby and Brian are together. They decide to go on a cross-country van tour, like in a big white van that has like a bed in it and like a little couch and like a sink. You know, those little vans. So they decided to go cross-country touring. They had been engaged, but then they called off their engagement and demoted themselves to boyfriend and girlfriend, which is red flag. You know, it's not a good sign. So they go on this trip. They're headed. They've gone all these different places. She has Instagram. She's posting pictures all over Instagram. It seems like they're happy. It seems like they're having a good time. Social media is a lie. But the last thing she tells her folks is that they're going to the Grand Tetons. The last time her parents, they talk to her all the time. The last time they physically hear her voice is August 25th. And then they thought, well, maybe there's no service. It's fine. So then they get a text a few days later saying no service in Yosemite, indicating that they had made it to Yosemite National Park and that there just wasn't good service. So they said, okay. Well, then there was maybe another post made from Gabby's Instagram at some point near the same time. But that was it. And it was kind of like weird. So her family kept trying to get a hold of her, kept trying to get a hold of her and couldn't. So they got really worried. So they started to try to get a hold of Brian and he would not answer their calls. Then they started trying to get a hold of Brian's family. None of them would answer their calls. And so her family is super concerned. Well, get this. Mr. Brian rolls up back at home in Florida with his folks in Gabby's van without Gabby and has no explanation as to where she is.
This sounds like a much longer version of what we just did.
I know.
Two people go.
Yes.
One person comes back with no explanation.
Exactly. So it's like, dude, you did it. As we saw, dude, you did it. And so I can't say that. I'd have no proof that he actually did it. It's just speculation. He has been named the only person of interest in Gabby's case. So she's missing. He won't say where he's at. As soon as he gets home, he lawyers up, which is suspicious. And his parents, he is not cooperative with police. His parents, not cooperative with police. So very suspicious thing to do. If you're not guilty, you'd think you want to work with the police and find your girlfriend. So anyways, she's missing. It's a whole thing. They're trying to find her. Her parents are really worried. Well, get this. His parents report him missing this past Friday. It's Sunday, so just a couple days ago, his parents reported him missing. He's been gone since Tuesday. They said, well, he was just going out for a hike somewhere in like the Everglades or something like that. I don't know. Said he was just going for a hike. No, he wasn't. And you know that. Like I said, this is all speculation. I can't actually prove anything. There is no allegations against him at this time. But it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you really think that he's just going to leave with a backpack and just go for a hike when everybody's out for his blood right now? So anyways, he's been missing since Tuesday. I say missing. I have quotes around it. He's been missing since Tuesday. And there he's reported missing 3 to 4 days later, Friday, whatever that is. Barf. Well, Crime Junkies just released an episode today, a special episode about all this, covering all the details. It was a very comprehensive episode. Listen to it. But since that release this afternoon, already there's been a development in the case, and that is that a body was found in that area where they were looking for Gabby, and the body does match the description of Gabby. And I think they basically said it's her. I mean, of course they probably have to wait for confirmation from the state crime lab and all that, but it's her. I mean, they're basically said it's her. So it's so sad. I think we all kind of suspected that this might be the outcome, but it doesn't make it any less hard. It doesn't make it any less hard for her family. And now we must find Brian Laundrie. He is the only person of interest in this case. And since she's been found murdered, I am going to assume that he is going to be bumped up from person of interest to number one suspect. So Brian Laundrie must be found.
Yeah, hopefully.
And brought to justice if it's him.
I mean, we gotta find him first.
Exactly. But investigators found Gabby, and I know that's probably a horrible thing for her family, but a relief nonetheless. So that's my horrible thing.
All right. I watched a movie. It's real good.
What? Oh, you blew my phone up about this.
I did. So recently I started playing a Godzilla game on my phone. Mm-hmm. Just kind of, it's an idle game. You just pop on, do a little, and leave it alone forever. Mm-hmm. And it was getting me in the mood to watch Shin Godzilla. A movie I'd been wanting to watch for a long, long time. It wasn't available streaming anywhere, like for free. Mm-hmm. So I was like, screw it. I'm gonna pay money for this. I paid $15 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So now I own it on my Amazon account.
Good for you.
That movie rules so hard. It's so good. It came out 2 years after the recent American Godzilla.
I was say, is it an American Godzilla?
No,
movie?
It is Japanese. Maybe it takes place in Japan.
It's a 2016 movie.
Yeah, so it's
directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi.
Anno is the guy who did Evangelion. That's people might know.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh yes, the thing you told me about.
I've told you about it. But this movie is real good.
The first thing I see is, why is Shin Godzilla so scary?
It's pretty. Yeah, it's kind of intense. I highly recommend it.
Is it different from all the other Godzilla movies?
Yeah, it is not silly. It's not silly like some of those ones from like the 60s where it's like Godzilla fighting a robot man or whatever.
Yeah.
Goofy stuff like that. This goes back to like the original Godzilla where it was like a scary disaster movie. This is like a disaster film and people are freaking out like, we don't know how to deal with this. Like, this is a real problem.
It got 87% liked by Google users, 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, 67% on Metacritic.
It should be 110%. It is so awesome. Those people who are rating it low, I bet there are a bunch of people who are like, I just wanted to watch Godzilla be silly and fight the robot Godzilla or the space Godzilla or fight a pterodactyl or whatever. Idiots, all of them. They don't know what they're talking about. But this movie almost, I don't think it could have been. It probably would have taken too long to make it. It almost feels like a response to the 2014 Godzilla movie that we did in the U.S., which is a similar thing of like, this is Godzilla for the first time, and it's a disaster, sort of, and we're having to deal with whatever this is. Like, but Shin Godzilla feels like it does it 1,000 times better. It's so good. You should watch it. Maybe someday it'll be streaming somewhere. I don't know.
You'll have to get the sign in for your Amazon account so we can.
That's right. Everybody, I'll put it out there.
Give your password away.
Yeah.
Then we can order stuff.
That's right. I'll take my credit card off, so you have to use your own.
I like when I click down is why is Shin Godzilla so scary? What does Shin mean?
It translated means Godzilla resurgent or resurgence.
Okay.
One of those two. But
unlike the Hollywood version, Shin Godzilla oozes and pulsates, representing its radioactive origin. Its red coloration evokes blood, but more importantly, it symbolizes the creature's rage.
Oh, yeah. There's some part. It's real good. I've listened to some of the soundtrack. It's like this really haunting music. It's really creepy. It's good. It's a good movie. I watched it twice. Like, I don't do that with movies usually. I'm like, I watched it. All right, moving on.
This is depressing. Somebody asked, is Shin Godzilla different from Godzilla? And it says, whereas the original Godzilla was conceived as a metaphor for the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Shin Godzilla drew inspiration from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami.
Yes, it has a very like earthquake, tsunami, disaster style film thing going on, but it's not like...
is he bad?
Yeah, he's bad. Okay. I mean, he's not meaning to be bad. He's just a big, giant lizard monster. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he's scared too.
Yeah, it's not like he's out there going like, normally I'd be nice, but I just feel like stepping on people now.
Look, I just said that. Somebody said, is Shin Godzilla good or bad? It says, unlike many past incarcerations of Godzilla before him, who were either villains, anti-heroes, or heroes, Shin Godzilla is nothing, but instead driven by his instinct for survival and adaptation. He was at first unaware of humans until they hurt him, which with these factors puts him at odds with humanity now. Yeah,
it's real good. There's also a part that makes me laugh thinking about like the difference between America and Japan maybe, or maybe the optimism that this person has for how government officials would act, where they're like, all right, we can take him out. There's no civilians around. And they're like, oh no, there's like 2 civilians around. They might get killed if we do this. And he's like, all right, don't do it then. I'm like, man, if this is America, we just drone strike the hell out of them. We'd be like, oops, sorry, don't worry about it. Anyway, like we've done in Afghanistan a bunch. But yeah, Shin Godzilla is awesome.
Somebody said, is Shin Godzilla kid friendly? It says
kid
Shin
friendly
Godzilla isn't safe. It's not for kids.
No, it's not like there's boobies or anything.
I think it just means violence.
But
somebody said
is not for kids. I would not have liked this when I was a kid.
I like these questions. This is all on Google. I just Googled Shin Godzilla and I'm looking at all the questions that people asked about it. Who is Godzilla's dad? Who is Godzilla's best friend? Who is Godzilla's wife?
That's a good question because he has a son in the old movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a real ugly looking dude.
Oh, it's a dude?
I mean, yeah, it's a little monster.
Okay, look at this picture. Is this from Shin Godzilla? Why does he look so freaky?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't want to spoil too much, but that's how he first appears.
He looks like a little.
He has googly eyes. Basically, he's very. It looks real weird.
He does look weird.
So he evolves throughout the film. Essentially,
okay.
He starts off when he shows up for the first time. He's got his googly eyes, and he's just like on the ground, like squirming around.
He looks like a little snake, kind of
like he's not standing upright.
Evolution of Shin Godzilla. It's literally right. There's a poster of it right here.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
He looks like a human in his skin fifth form.
What?
Look. It's a thing. Oh no, I tried to save it.
I don't know what that's not from that movie.
It's not? This isn't him?
Whatever that picture is on the bottom is not.
None of that's him? That looks like the pictures I've seen. Is any of that from the first movie?
The top one is more like, I mean, he looks like that at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of like
so that he never looks like a dude. I don't know what that is that you're looking at.
He looks like a dude. Anyway, it is not important. Okay, well, I mean, I might watch it.
Yeah, I recommend it. What else you got?
I gotta open my list. I always have to write things down. I never can remember. I watched a couple movies and a couple shows. I watched Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman and the redheaded chick from Greatest Showman. I don't know her name, but it was I would give it on a scale of 0 to 10. I would give it a 4.
Out of 10?
Yes.
Shin Godzilla got an 11 from me.
Wow. Okay, we're at odds there. I mean, two totally different spectrums, I think.
Sounds like Shin Godzilla is worth $15.
It might be. Reminiscence is free. I mean, if you
What's
have HBO.
What's it on? Oh, HBO Max.
I mean, not really free. You pay a monthly subscription, but you know what I mean.
You gotta pay for electricity. You have to buy a TV. You have to possibly have a thing that streams
Streaming
things.
Device. Yeah.
You have to pay internet.
All those things. Reminiscence was mediocre in its finest. It was, and I love Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman did a great performance, but it was the plot was all over the place. It was
What is the plot?
And Jessica Tandy Jessica Tandy, is that her name? Tandy Newton. I don't know, but the girl who's in Westworld, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't worry about it. It's about like Hugh Jackman has this girlfriend and she does stuff and he tries to go back with his mind. He has this device that like helps you relive memories and he's trying to go back and figure out what happened to her. And it's just weird. It's weird. The plot's everywhere. It's not very good. I'm so sorry to say. Did not care for it. Would not watch it again. 4 out of 10.
I might watch Shin Godzilla again tonight.
Wow.
That's how good it is.
You do like that. Is it in, I'm sure, is it in Japanese?
Japanese subtitles.
Okay. That's fine. I like subtitles.
We're adults. We can read subtitles.
I'm able to read.
That's part of why, again, it's kind of heady for children. I would not have children watch this.
Okay.
I would have children watch Godzilla versus Space Godzilla or something like that, you know.
Perfect.
Exactly.
I also watched a show called The Nevers, which I really liked, also on HBO. It's about these people like in Victorian England that this weird thing happens and they get these powers randomly and none of them remember how they got it except one girl who's like cuckoo.
She's like, I remember and I'm not going to tell.
No, she tells and nobody believes
okay.
her. Like she's lost her mind. Like they think she's crazy. Which she kind of is, but that's beside the point. But it was really good until the last 2 episodes. And then John and I were watching it and we literally thought we skipped an episode because it was just like it threw information out there. I was like, what is that? What does that mean? And so we went back and looked. Nope, didn't miss anything. It rolled from one episode. This is why he found out that Joss Whedon directed it. And he has an adventurous mind.
A bad personality.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's a bad person. It turns out.
I didn't know that.
Like he's abusive and bad.
Oh, that's not okay.
No.
And that's probably why this happened then, is because the first 4 episodes, 6 episodes, the first 4 were great. Loved where it was going. Something happened after the first 4 episodes and he wasn't directing anymore. And somebody else came in and directed the last 2. So I bet something happened.
To be fair, in most TV shows or a lot of them, they usually don't have one director.
Well, he was supposed to direct all of them.
Okay.
John had read about it and something happened and then they brought somebody else in to direct the last 2.
Say, because like The Mandalorian, for instance, has had like a bunch of directors come through.
Yeah. I don't think that was the plan for this one. I think this was his baby. He did the screenplay and everything.
I was say, did they not have access to the script? Like what?
No, they did, but something happened and somebody else came in and directed it, and it was something got lost in translation because it turns from like it's kind of sci-fi-ish, almost like steampunk a little bit. You'll see why if you watch it. But I loved where it was going. Now I just don't know. I don't know. I watched all of it. I watched all 6 episodes yesterday when I was supposed to be doing other things. But I watched all 6 episodes. Since
you looked up Shin Godzilla, I just want to point out Rotten Tomatoes on the Nevers, 49%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But 7.4 on IMDb, which I think is higher than Shin Godzilla was.
Yes.
Which, again, I think it's just because those are user reviews.
Yeah.
And they're all idiots. They don't know what they're talking about.
Could be. So I like the aspect of it. I like the Victorian England. It has a sci-fi aspect. It has a fantasy aspect. I appreciate that. Don't know if there's going to be a second season. There's a lot of questions unanswered, so I'd like to see where that goes. Speaking of other shows, I watched Fina Pirate Princess, which was that anime that I was like, I would watch that anime.
Oh, yeah, the one where you were like, I like the look of it because it has a plot like other anime doesn't.
It doesn't. It's weird.
You've never watched any.
But this is like fantasy stuff, like pirates and stuff. And I was like, okay, I could get behind it. It's not like space stuff or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like there's some sort of pirate fantasy manga / anime that's been going on for like 10 years and has 1,000 episodes. It's called One Piece.
Never heard of it.
It's super popular. I haven't really watched it. I've read a few of the comics, but it's
it just reinforced why I don't watch anime.
Oh, you didn't like it?
It was weird. It's weird.
You can do weird stuff. Do the weird stuff. Go for it.
I did. I watched 4 episodes of it, and I was like, this makes me feel awkward. This makes me feel uncomfortable because it's weird.
Could be that maybe that one's just a bad one. I don't know. Watch Princess Mononoke.
That one that's a Studio Ghibli movie.
It is.
I like the Studio Ghibli movies. They have a plot and they go.
This is blowing my mind. This is just like this makes my brain melt out of my ears listening to you be like, the other ones don't even have plot. It's like sometimes they have too much plot.
That's what it is. This is how anime is. So I once dated a guy who was really obsessed with what's Goku?
Dragon Ball
Z.
That has a story too.
We literally watched like 10 episodes, and it only covered in real time about 5 minutes, like, of the life of those people.
That was a problem with Dragon Ball Z. Part of that is because the comic was ongoing, and they were following the plot of the comic. So they would get to points, and this happens a lot of times in anime. It's based on a manga. They'll get to a point where they're like, oh no, we've caught up. So now we have to like stall for a while the actual creator creates the story. It was
awful. I was like, I don't want to watch this. Well, at least there's a little bit more with Fina. I mean, it does have a plot, but it felt like it's weird, like the way they're like, and it's like,
are you making fun of the way? Are you making fun of Japanese people?
I'm making fun of the dubbing over. It looks ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous.
It makes you feel better. They don't match that well in Japanese most of the time either.
Yeah, and because it's basically just a mouth moving up and down. Like, there is no mouth movements or whatever. It's just weird.
I'm just glad you didn't get us canceled. I thought you were about to. I was gonna have to like edit that out and be like, Caitlin, you cannot.
No, it's just. The words don't match up. It's the weird inflection. It's like the dialogue doesn't make any sense. I'm like, why would they say that? That's really weird. And it's weird. I don't get it. So I might finish watching that season. I don't know. We'll see.
You know, because I'm coming back to Shin Godzilla again.
Oh, no.
You know what I kind of want to do? I haven't done it in a long time.
What?
Is go back and actually watch Evangelion, the show.
Uh-huh.
I've only recently I've watched it like a long time ago. It's on Netflix now. Mm-hmm. And I watched End of Evangelion, which is a miserable nightmare. Don't watch it.
Okay.
But he like rebooted the whole thing into like a bunch of movies that are all on Amazon now. So I might check those out.
Yeah.
Last thing from me, I finished The Forgotten City. So
do you like it?
It's real good. I liked it a lot. I got all the endings. Basically, you go to a Roman city that is like underground, and you can't escape, and you're stuck in a time loop, and you're trying to solve the mystery of how to escape or whatever. And it's really cool. It was originally a Skyrim mod.
You told me that.
You can kind of tell in the way some of the stuff works, or like the way you talk to people, it just like zooms in on their face, like especially like Oblivion used to do.
Yes.
But yeah, there's like a whole time loop element to it, and you're trying to solve this mystery, and they do a really good job of like not making you do things over and over again. They have like some ways to be like, okay, I know how to do this. I can tell this person real quick, go do the thing, and it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. I don't want to spoil it because it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. There was a part where there was a thing I was like, this makes no sense the way this is working. Like, it doesn't make sense, technically. But that's fine. The video game needs it to happen. Mm-hmm. And there's a reveal at some point, and it's like, oh, actually, that makes so much sense that I'm dumb for not thinking of that in the first place. Mm-hmm. I doubted them. I rolled credits on it first time about a week ago. There's 4 endings. Oh. It tells you which one is which. Oh. Sort of. It's like, you got ending 1, ending 2, ending 3, 4. First one I got was ending 2. But having done...
Is it based off decisions that you make?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there's like some variation even within the endings. But there is like a grand thing you do. It's like, okay, so that puts you into the 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. And having done the 2, I was like, I think I know what 3 is. I think I know what 4 is. I think I know what 1 is. So I just went back to my save and just started going through them, and it's like, all right, cool. I got all of those endings.
Oh, okay.
But it's really cool because it's like a really small city, but there's lots of nooks and crannies to get to.
Did it take you long to finish it?
Not super long. I did all of the endings. I think the playtime was listed at like under 10 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not very long at all.
Yeah, I basically did it in like 3 sessions. I played for a really long time the one day, a little while a second day, and then the third day I played for a really long time, which is when I did all the endings.
Gotcha.
But I think that's a really cool game. It's worth checking out. It's so cool because you're like, hey, I know this about you, because it's like we've never met before or whatever. Because you're the only one who remembers the time loops.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. Look into it. It's on PlayStation, Xbox, PC.
Oh, all of it. Not
no Switch.
Oh, it's unfortunate.
It does not run very well on PS4. You would not want it on a Switch. Okay. It stutters a lot.
Is it pretty good graphically?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's made by like 3 people, I think.
Oh, okay.
Which is insane for video game stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you see a big one, like a God of War, it's hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see. Just a couple more things, then we can wrap it up. What If is still on Disney. You still need to watch it.
I still have not even watched a single second.
It's pretty good. There was a zombie episode, which I actually really liked a lot, because I was kind of skeptical. I was like, really, we're doing zombies? But I actually really liked it. I thought it was a good episode. And then there's one, and it has to do with Wakanda. And I don't want to give too much away, but that was probably my least favorite so far.
Is it because of all your racism?
It's because it was boring.
Okay.
It's because it
just checking.
It's because it was like, well, I could have I could ask that and could have seen that coming. Like, it was like, well, everybody kind of thought about that in Black Panther anyways, anyway. Also, we have begun, since our last recording, John and I and his brother and his best friend's wife, we have begun our first D&D campaign.
It's about time.
It is about time. It's literally been 3 months in the making, and they still had not made their characters. And me and John came prepared literally with like 2 fully made characters, and I'm not kidding, like 15 most of the way made characters.
Is he the dungeon master?
No, his brother is.
I was gonna say,
needs a little work. This is all of our first times of doing anything. John's been researching like crazy. He's listened to a bunch of podcasts. He is prepared, and I came with like 1.5 fully formed characters, and I finished while they were all making their one character. I finished my 2 or my second one, and I'm pretty pleased with them. And that's just in case one of ours dies. But Cameron's our DM right now. He already said that he won't kill any of us for a while. So I was like, thank you. We all need to learn.
That's probably good. I've read a lot of stuff or heard a lot of stuff about people being like real jackasses as dungeon masters, where they're like, oh, I'm going to have this person die just because I'm a jerk.
Yeah.
I need to teach them a lesson.
It's not fun that way.
Yeah, people... The other thing I always hear is like, don't have the group be separated in the game, because that's a problem.
Yeah.
Also, don't try and pigeonhole everybody into like railroad them into like one thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we want to go do this for a bit. It's like, don't make them not do it, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing about, you have to be adaptive. So you have to work, because you can kind of have an outline, but essentially you're Lord of the Rings in it. You're a group and you're walking through the world and you come across some things and you fight them. I mean, you're Skyrim in it. So
yeah, you're just going out doing a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe go on a quest, maybe don't. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. I've never done any of this stuff.
There's like a main goal. We have a main goal, and our campaign right now is a pretty small goal, just so we can all kind of practice a little bit. But anyways, I think it's gonna be fun once we all kind of get the hang of it. I like to get embellished in there, so that's fun. And I think that John and I have reserved a venue for we're not going to have like a big wedding, but we're going to have a reception, and we reserved a venue for our nice reception next year.
Oh, very exciting.
10/22/22, baby. Isn't that a fun date? 10/22/22.
Yeah, it's all right.
It sounds like a horse. 10.
I'm waiting for 22/22/22.
You'll be waiting. You'll be waiting a long time.
I'm going to change the calendar system. You watch me.
You can be waiting a while. And then, of course, the last thing is I want to give a shout out to the Conway Symphony Orchestra, who did a fantastic job on their first concert in the park this past Friday. It was a free event in Conway, and John and I went to it. They played wonderfully. It was great. It was a wonderful program. They played really well. They did a Lord of the Rings medley, and it was fantastic. They had a soloist who did great. It was great. And then they ended the show with Stars and Stripes Forever, which is classic. So I was very pleased with it. It was great. And it was free, which was crazy. It was free.
Well, you probably had to pay gas to drive there.
It's not too far.
Yeah, I don't know. And your taxes have to pay for those roads.
Shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up.
Your taxes have to pay for that park even.
I
and
don't
its
care.
upkeep.
It was #worth it.
So it sounds like it wasn't very free to me.
It doesn't matter. And that's it. That's all I have. That's the bad thing about doing it every 2 weeks is I have a giant list.
Yeah, maybe we need to like limit ourselves, or actually who cares? It doesn't matter.
It's our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
This is actually, in fact, this is specifically why we moved to making sure we talked early about the story, because that's what you're probably here for.
Yes.
And if you enjoy this, it's like a bonus.
Yeah.
I actually don't care if anybody listens to this part. This is the part where we're just talking. We're just talking, having fun.
We banter.
If you're not having fun with
then
this
leave.
part, then that's fine.
Come back for the story next time.
Yeah, exactly. Just like go like, all right, gonna skip to Strictly Poopicide. Is that what it was called? Strictly Homicide? Whatever the other one.
It was like Strictly Poop. What are we talking about?
Whatever the podcast is that I decided we're beefing with now.
Strictly Homicide.
That's how you get big on the internet. You beef with somebody.
That's right. Not really.
I mean, sometimes.
Let's not do. I don't want to be that person.
You don't want to do that? You don't want to have
I don't want to be a
drama?
Karen. I don't want to be a Karen.
You don't want it to be like that episode of iCarly where they have a fake beef with Fred so that they can have their viewership numbers go up?
Never saw that. You did.
I did, apparently.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's the only thing I really remember from that show.
You watched that 4-hour documentary.
That might be why I remember that spot.
That probably is.
But I think I distinctly remember watching that episode. It's not like I watched a lot of iCarly. I was outside the age range.
You were done. Speaking of outside the age range, you see where old Steve from Blue's Clues?
I saw that he did a thing. I haven't watched it.
It just came up on my newsfeed. And so I was like, the day it happened, I was like, what is this? It was like Steve. He's like, remember when we did our adventures? That was nice. He's like, I'm proud of you guys. Thanks for loving me. I loved you. And I was like, wow, we all needed this right now. Thanks, Steve. But he was like, I didn't really watch. That was like, I was right past the age for that.
Yeah.
But with the lady that my sister and I stayed with in the summer, like we stayed at her home and she babysat a couple young kids too. And so she would always turn Nick Jr. on in the morning and that was on. And so my sister and I would have to watch it.
Nick Jr. was always annoying because it was like
that face.
Sometimes I was up that early and I was like,
I don't want to watch baby shows.
I want to watch like a good show.
Give me Goku.
Goku wasn't on that channel.
I know. He's
listen. I just don't want to watch baby shows. I want to watch babies.
But
I want to watch Rugrats. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. But I was like, what? But babies are up that early and they want to watch bright colors and things.
And the giant orange face.
Yeah.
Was that his name?
Face. I think it is face. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Go. That's a good name.
Yeah. It is a face on a screen.
It's like the cyborg ninja from Metal Gear Solid is named Cyborg Ninja.
That's very appropriate.
Like, cool. Go for it.
Pretty self-explanatory.
I mean, it's weird that you would go with that when this is a game that has Revolver Ocelot and Vulcan Raven and Sniper Wolf.
That's so weird.
Solid Snake and Liquid Snake.
That's like descriptions of poop.
And Solidus Snake is another one. But he's in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Also, I just happened to look over the trash. Guess what? We got a free pizza from Domino's.
Oh.
They're doing a thing where they're giving away $50 million of free stuff to people who order stuff. And you could get it. You couldn't get it. Got a free pizza. I can't eat it because it has gluten. And it wasn't gluten free, but John can eat it.
And also it would have dairy or whatever.
Well, I think I decided I'm going to eat some dairy.
Okay.
Because it's way too hard not to. Yeah. It is so hard not to. And just do the gluten-free thing. And I'm not going to drink like a freaking glass of milk or anything, but
I bought milk and cereal like a few weeks ago because I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, I was like, I'm never again.
My tummy hurt.
Like drinking the milk itself, I was like not on board with. It didn't make me hurt. It was just like, no. It makes me hurt. It gives me indigestion drinking straight milk. But like I'm using it in a recipe, I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's a little different. Yeah. Like baking it and stuff. You pour it into the bowl with the cereal, recipe done. No, not that. You. But I'm fine with almond milk. It tastes perfectly good to me. Almond, do you get it where it's not sweetened or whatever? I get original. So it's not vanilla. It's just original. So it's because
cow's milk has carbs in it. It has sugars in it, natural sugars in it. And so it tastes odd to have unsweetened almond milk because that doesn't reflect regular cow's milk. Whereas I think original almond milk reflects cow's milk a little bit more.
Interesting. I think it was probably the vanilla that I had once. Yeah. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I worked at Chick-fil-A, part of the process of making a milkshake. There's like, it's real simple. It's, there's a thing called shake base.
Tell me their secrets.
Yeah. There's a thing called shake base, which is what the vanilla almond milk tasted a lot like. Yeah. And then it was like ice cream and then maybe other stuff.
Yeah.
If it was a vanilla milkshake, you're done. You just
boop boop.
That's all you did.
Yeah,
chocolate. You add chocolate syrup.
I think you probably had vanilla almond milk then, because regular almond milk it tastes like regular milk, but a little bit different. Also, I made a recipe this week. I made some mashed potatoes, and normally I use half and half or canned milk for homemade mashed potato recipe. But of course, I can't use either of those things. So when John went to the store, I was like, look for dairy-free half and half. I know it's a thing. See if they have it. He found some. That stuff's pretty good, man. It kind of tastes like regular half and half.
It worked?
Yes, it was good. And then I sounded like Aziz Ansari just then. But then it called for dairy-free Parmesan in it as well. And I was like, I don't know about that. We'll give it a go. Put it in there. Tastes fantastic. It was awesome. Those are some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever had.
That reminds me, mentioning Aziz Ansari, there's a new Parks and Rec podcast.
What?
With one of the writers and Rob Lowe. It's called Parks and Recollection.
That is so good. That was so good.
What's really funny is listening to Rob Lowe talk about it, like because he's seeing the first episode for the first time because he's an actor. He doesn't watch TV. They just go. They're like a golem that you just mold into. Just tell them what they do and they do it. That's all they do. And he's talking about like I didn't know like April's backstory at all. It's like, why is she here? It's like, she's a college intern. Got it. He had no idea that's why she had been there in the first place. Though? April.
Oh, April, like gay. Oh,
yeah. He also didn't realize that Leslie and Anne weren't just besties from the very beginning.
They were not friends initially.
Yeah. And just like they talk about like how it started and stuff. It's really cool. There's only one episode out as of our recording now. I
want to listen to that. And that guy that Amy Poehler that Leslie was like super into, Rob, was that his name? Rob.
Oh, on the show?
Brandanowitz.
Chris Brandanowitz,
yeah.
More like Brandanowitz.
Yeah, because he like left after the first or second season to do big things. I've seen him in nothing. Absolutely.
You saw him in one thing.
What?
Water for Elephants.
I didn't. Did I watch that movie?
You watched that movie with me.
I've read that book.
We've seen that movie. We saw it in Jonesboro in a theater.
That's how bad it was. Is I don't remember anything about it.
He was the guy that was being told the story to or something.
Weird.
Yeah.
And that was it, huh?
I mean, it's the only thing I know of. Maybe he's doing other stuff.
You know what? Actually, but speaking of that, I saw, what did I watch? Oh, it was Mayor of Easttown, which I really loved that I talked about.
Yes.
The show on HBO. Guess who was in it who played Mayor's ex-husband?
Chris Pratt. Rob Lowe. Adam Scott.
The Office.
Steve Carell. John Krasinski.
No, Jim Krasinski. No.
What's his name? Robert California. Jay Spader.
No. It was freaking Roy, man.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, it was Roy from The Office. Pam's ex fiance. He played Mayor's ex-husband. He was pretty good. He was really good in it, actually. He was really good. Really, really good.
Did he try to beat anybody up?
Nope.
That's good.
Not at all. Nope. He was good. He was very good in it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think I'm tapped out.
I think so too.
I think we've bantered enough.
Everybody, watch Shin Godzilla, and Caitlin, take us out.
Okay, guys, thanks for coming back with us this fortnight that you have joined us. Did I say that right? Fortnite,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had a brain fart because all I thought of was the game, and I was like, wait, what did I say?
Your favorite game? Yeah, Fortnite.
Literally don't know what it's about.
Caitlin's all about paying for that battle pass.
I don't even know what that means.
She got the the Wonder Woman skin or something.
I don't Minecraft, and I don't and I don't Fortnite. But this is a proper Fortnite. 2 weeks ago.
I downloaded Fortnite once and played it for a little bit, and I was like, this isn't for me. It seems fine, but I'm more for my Battle Royale, Apex Legends, which I haven't played since like the first month of launch, so obviously not that much.
Okay. So this is a Fortnite, the proper Fortnite, not the game. This is a Fortnite since we last talked.
With the GHT at the end.
That is correct. So thank you for joining us this fortnight. This is Paint the Town Dead. We release episodes every other week now, every other Tuesday. You can catch us on Facebook at Paint the Town Dead. You can catch us on Instagram at Paint the Town Dead, all one word. You can catch us on, what else are we on? I've brain farted. Twitter, PTTD Pod. You can email us at pttdpod@gmail.com. We also have TikTok that we've done nothing with, so check that out. Please be sure to subscribe on everything you can, rate 5 stars, everything you can, like anything you can, share anything you can. All of your interactions with us have impact, and we greatly appreciate it. I think that's about it. I just need to say something really quick, Andrew, to you specifically.
Okay.
Andrew.
Yeah.
We made it this whole episode without talking about vaccines.
Oh wow.
And now we did. We can't break our streak. We had to mention it. Okay, guys, get vaccinated.
You just broke it doing that.
I did. But I said we can't break it. I said we can't break it. We have to keep it going. So get vaccinated.
I'm pro.
And yeah. So guys, we will see you again the week after next with another story from Paint the Town Dead. And we'll see you guys then. Goodbye.
Bye.